Jimmy K here, Metal Voice. Look at this. The Metal Voice shirts are now on sale. Just go to the video description to find out on how you can purchase one. Metal! Here we are on Uli's bus and with Uli Jon Roth, and you guys just played an awesome show here at the Whisky. Took you a couple of years to get back over here.
Yes.
So Uli, it was really wonderful to hear some Electric Sun tonight.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed when you're playing your Sky guitar, but it was an 8-string, I think.
The 8-string was the acoustic one, the flamenco Sky guitar. Yes. Wonderful. The other one was 7-string. Yeah.
You played some Vivaldi tonight.
Yeah, but that was in the VIP. That was before the show.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a VIP concert, which is basically like a private concert, and for me that's exciting because I normally don't get to play that piece, you know, and it's a very intricate, demanding piece. You gotta have your wits together to play it, but it's also very exciting.
Well, as a novice guitar player compared to anyone that's not, especially yourself, when you're playing the acoustic, you know, you're playing a bass part on the upper strings and the
the other way around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so
fine.
yeah, on that this guitar has 8 strings, so the bottom string is like really low, and I've got 2 extra bass strings. So the interesting thing with this guitar is you can play a lot of chord structures which wouldn't sound good on a normal guitar, you know. So it opens up a whole gamut of new keys for the guitar, and I like that.
Is that like a harp? I mean, it kind of has.
Well, it's not really like a harp. It's like its own instrument, you know. But it has just a lot more possibilities than a standard 6-string classical guitar.
Well, it was an exciting concert tonight, so I you know, it was just great energy tonight, and nice production. With, you know, I won't give it all away. Let people come to the show and see the tour. So this is the first night, and you have 40 shows.
It's the first night. We've done this show in Japan recently, and we did a few shows in Europe in December. But other than that, this is the big one, you know, which was supposed to happen 2 years ago, and now it's the time. Yeah, I'm glad today went well, because it's a program that has its pitfalls. It's difficult to play, and some things could go wrong, and we were pretty lucky. Other than the broken string, we didn't have too many casualties, you know. So, and the audience seemed to enjoy it.
Wonderful. And the other guitar you picked up on the Sky guitar string, I mean, it's also a Sky.
That was it's basically an anniversary Sky Stratocaster. So it's got the shape of a Strat. It looks like a Strat. It's got the same wood, but it's got the power of a Sky guitar. Basically the same kind of electronics, and it's scalloped like a Sky guitar. So it's a hybrid, you know. Yeah.
Neat. And so, with regards to the show tonight, I mean, you have a 3-hour show more or less with an intermission. It's a long show, so I mean, to put on a show like that, I mean, it takes a lot of stamina and a lot of discipline from the band.
It takes stamina and discipline for the band. Yeah, I mean, not easy for the drummer, you know, not easy for the singer or for anybody, you know. And particularly we're doing the Metamorphosis beforehand, which is almost an hour. So we're playing for almost 4 hours every night, you know, which I was a little bit hesitant before. I thought, well, is this going to be physically doable, because the stuff is tricky to play and, you know, puts a lot of strain on your mental capacity, you know. So, but today it went fine. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the tour.
And you have a fantastic team of guys. I mean, your team is fantastic.
A fantastic team of guys. Yes, we have a really good band and all the support people and stuff.
And they're right over here too.
Yes, yes. Some of them, and some of them are already in their bunks. That's why they're fantastic, because tomorrow
Good behavior.
is another show, and yeah, and you have to pace yourself with that, you know.
And this is your triple anniversary tour.
Yeah,
Tell us a
it's
little bit
triple
about that.
anniversary because
This is the first night of the tour.
yeah, it's triple anniversary because there are 3 anniversaries that we're celebrating. The first one would be 40 years of Tokyo Tapes, which was basically in 1978. So we started this tour last December, you know, so we're now like 3 or 4 months out of that, because it's now the 41st year. But so it's that is number one. Then after we recorded Tokyo Tapes, I left the Scorpions, and Electric Sun was started in the same year, in 1978, and we recorded Earthquake, the album. And then the 3rd anniversary is actually my 50th on stage anniversary, because I figured at some point, don't know where the idea came from, but I thought, hey, it's actually 50 years since I've been on stage, which was in 1968. You know, and not many people actually have been going for that long. You know, in my kind of business, a lot of them didn't
at
make
your
it.
level, yeah.
You know, to the finishing line, even physically. You know, a lot of them died, unfortunately. So I'm still here, standing and carrying the freak flag, you
And
know,
rocking,
the torch,
rocking hard.
I guess so. And so that's why it's a triple anniversary tour, you know. And our show reflects some of that. So it's a cross section of my repertoire, and I mean, we're even having one song where we're playing one of the songs that I played on that very first show.
You played it with the guitar.
Played it with the guitar that I played that first show with, which
Amazing.
is still in existence, and which is the guitar that I learned guitar on, really, you
And
know.
where was that show, Uli?
It was in Hanover, or close to Hanover, you know, in December 1968. And
Cool.
the freaky thing is, and I've only realized that very recently in my mind, you know, when you go back in time, you don't sometimes put 2 and 2 together. But only 20 days afterwards, I saw Jimi Hendrix for the first time in January 1969.
Where
you
do
know?
you see Jimmy?
So my first show was in December 68, and then I see Hendrix in the beginning of 1969. How cool is that, you know?
Beyond cool.
Yeah, I saw him in Hamburg when I was like
Hamburg.
13, or I just turned 14 or whatever, you know, Hamburg.
So cool.
And I had very good seats. I was pretty close to the stage, you know. So there you go. That's history.
Beautiful. And Uli, I don't want to ask you this question, but I have to, because there's so many people that want to know about this topic, and it's just one of those topics that you know, we might as well ask you. You can tell me whatever you feel. So when you were with Monica Dannerman, I guess she had a guitar that she got from Jimmy, supposedly, and this is, I guess, the conversation out there in the world sometimes.
Yeah, it's the Black Strat, Black Beauty that Jimmy played all through the last year, including Band of Gypsies, you know. And the guitar, a lot of people were after that guitar.
Of course.
In more recent years, you know. In the beginning, Monica always had the guitar for like 15 years or whatever, you know. And then some people wanted it. Somebody wanted to buy it. And Paul Allen, the the number 2 in Microsoft. I remember one day he called up. He offered like $1 million, you know, but Monica turned him down, you know. And there was one guy I remember called me one day and said, and he was like some kind of Arab dealer or whatever, arts dealer, and he offered like $7, $8, $9 million, you know. I said, well, tell me a good reason why we should sell this guitar, you know. And he said, well, the money. I said, well, that's not a good reason. You know, the guitar should stay with the paintings. And it's not my guitar. It belongs to the Danneman estate, but it's in a vault. So there were too many people after it. But one day, I think it's going to be exhibited as it should be, you know.
That's
but
fantastic.
it should be exhibited with Monica's paintings, because Monica's paintings are extra special, and they tell a story by themselves, unlike any other that is out there connected to Jimi. You know, she really understood the message behind his lyrics, and I think she was the only one after his death who really nailed it and did that. You know, in fact, the day she died, or the next day, Mitch Mitchell called me up, and he told me his condolences, and he said, I just saw Monica's book, and she totally was right about Jimi, and you know, and he was really fully behind that. He saw the paintings and he understood, you know, and that meant a lot to me, because not everybody understood, you know. And she had a bad rap by some people who were just jealous, and a lot of bullshit was being talked. But it's just the way life is, you know. You cannot take these things too seriously. Some people wrote books and they just made up things, and you know, and the truth is very often quite different from that which you read in books, you know. And that was very much the case with Monica. So it was a very unfortunate scenario. But I think one day the paintings will be seen for what they are. They're going to live on, and not many things will. But his music will live on, and her paintings will live on, actually. They're too good to be forgotten.
Thank you for sharing this with us.
Well,
because
you asked.
This is amazing. And that guitar, just to get it out of the way. that
Well, I'm
black-
not going to tell you where it is.
No. The black Strat, it's a maple neck, right? I think.
Yeah, it's a maybe. Yeah,
I haven't
it's
seen it,
just
but-
a standard. I mean,
68.
I thought, other than the fact that Jimi played it, it wasn't like a special Strat.
So you
It's
played on
special-
this guitar.
Yeah, I did it a couple of times, but I shouldn't have, because I was afraid of breaking a string. It's the only guitar that still has the original Jimi strings, you know. So I shouldn't even. That was during the Scorpions days, you know. But it was just for a few minutes, and then I never played it again, because I thought, what if I break a string, you know?
That's a lot of respect for Jimi, and
Well,
that's just
yeah, of
amazing.
course, you know. And so it's the only guitar that's been left untouched as it is, you know, of Jimi's. I was surprised at how light the strings were. Yeah.
Played eights.
Yeah, and sometimes even less, because the head of Sound, sag mal, wie heißt die Firma, die Rotor Sound. Jimi went down there and he said, can you make me some 7s or 6.5? He
Whoa.
wanted to experiment with this, you know. And then, and the guy, I forgot his name now, or his dad told him the story. He was the owner of Rotor Sound. It's like a typical Jimi story, but it sounds very true. Although I wasn't there, you know. So the owner of Rotor Sound said, Jimi, why would you want like a 6.5 E string, you know, tuned down to E flat? And Jimi said, well, because they taste differently. Well, because he was synesthetic, you know, and so yeah, every note gives you a certain taste if you want to go down that route, you know. And so Jimi experimented with these things, and I was surprised about the lightness of his strings. But having said that, on the very early albums, he used more heavy strings, you know. But later on, they did become thinner. So it does give you a different vibrato, you know. And I actually have always used and preferred light E strings, because they have a more shiny vibrato. You You know, they don't give you the same kind of response when you're playing rhythm, but for the lead, it's difficult to top. You know, and like Ingve, he's the same. He's one of the few people, and he's got a good ear. So he said, "Are you using an 8-string?" I said, "How did you know that?" "Yeah, I can hear it." You know, and so some people can hear the difference.
Is it a different approach sometimes for acoustic guitars?
Well, the guitar that's opposite.
Smaller guitars.
That's opposite. An acoustic guitar really pretty much needs heavy strings, I think, in order to get the best out of it. You know.
And what about a smaller acoustic?
They're different scale lengths. You know, yeah, like a Les Paul or whatever. Of course, the scale lengths will completely determine kind of how the string reacts. You know.
And I wanted to close with one question about...
what kind of a weird interview is this?
I know, I got crazy questions.
No, I'm not saying that they're bad. It's actually quite interesting because finally somebody asked me something else. But, yeah.
These are practical questions we all want to know.
Okay, well,
sometimes we
guitar players, maybe.
We need some good strings.
But this is not for the main public.
Okay, so what I wanted to ask you, Uli, is you know, in terms of recording, in terms of, you know, now with the music business being in the state that it's in, I mean, you're out here working and touring. You know, any plans to do some recording, some more recordings?
Yeah, well, I know I'm long overdue, and I owe,
Album?
as you say, here in California, I owe big time.
New album?
Yeah, I have written at least an album's worth of new material in this vein. But making an album is always a logistical problem. It takes time. You know, I'm always on the road, and I always take a long time when I'm in the studio, unfortunately. And this is something that I've never really been able to alter. And when I did alter it, I wasn't really happy with the results. You know, so it's a personal problem that I have. I don't really enjoy. Well, the recording process is fine, but I don't enjoy finding the sounds because I'm never happy with it, you know. And yeah, so to me, it never sounds as good as I think it should, and that's that kind of sucks.
It's good to know what you want, though.
I know what I want, maybe too much so, and that's a problem. You know, if I didn't know what I want, it would be a lot easier. Maybe I should forget what I want, and then I could easily do an album in a week. Yeah, that's maybe the answer.
No, we like you doing it the way you do
man.
it. So are you going to be
What I want.
are you going to be recording you know, an album that's going to be in the vein of, you know, some of the songs you're playing tonight, or is it going to be some departure?
No, every album I've ever done was completely different from every other album that I've ever done, and I've never planned it that way. But I've realized this with hindsight. You know, it just comes out that way because first of all, I don't really like repeats as much, and I always like to explore new territory, and then it comes out like something unlike anything I've done before, which confuses people. So some people say, why don't you do more like Firewind? Why don't you more like Earthquake? Why don't you do more like Virgin Killer or whatever? And I can't really, you know, because the next one's going to be different, you know. And
now, since you're from
not much I can do about that.
Since you're from the Hendrix generation, I'm from the Hendrix generation, just a little bit further down the road, and you've been through the different eras of music, you know, and here we are, 2019. Is there any artists today?
Is it really that late?
Yeah, it's crazy. Is there artists today, like new artists or not so old artists, like more recent? Because I know, like, we become maybe accustomed to certain sounds from certain eras, and nowadays there's a lot of different music, but there still are some artists that kind of make it through the ether. I just wonder if you have.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can
artists
see
that you
a lot of talent out there. You know, every once in a while I hear people who are really talented. You know, but I'm not really seeking it out as much. I never have done. You know, I did stop catching up like about 40 years ago, I have to admit. And it's not like I'm not interested, but I don't feel drawn to it in some way, you know. I prefer to explore music in my own way rather than listen and then maybe, you know, get ideas. But if somebody comes up with a great idea, you know, I'm happy to steal it, you know. So, but I need to hear it first, you know. So, I don't know.
Well, thank you.
It's you know, it's just I do keep an open mind, but I have to say, this maybe sounds a little negative. It is negative. You know, the music that I hear whenever the radio is on usually really sucks nowadays. I mean, it's totally, in my mind, completely uninspired. The one thing I lack, I miss the most is melody. Like you hear like hit songs of nowadays and I think, how can this be a hit song? It's just got a groove and people repeating a phrase mindlessly ad infinitum with lyrics that don't mean anything. And then I think, maybe I'm really getting old because it's not how I grew up. When I grew up, I listened to the Beatles and they were like melody as good as it gets and harmony and sophisticated and amazing, you know. And then I listen to what's there on the radio and then I just want to turn it off because it's so boring. You know, you listen to it like for 5 seconds, you've heard the whole song and then just more of the same. It's painful. You know, it's painful for me, so I can't get, I can't, my finger can't even be fast enough to switch it off. And I mean, there are talented people out there, and even and people who have hits, and and I see that sometimes, you know. So I'm not knocking the whole scene, but in general, what the kids are listening to, like my daughter, although she's very musical, she also listens to like good stuff. But sometimes when I listen to the stuff that comes from Rome, you know, I think this is the end of the world as we know it, you know.
Well, I can relate.
It's like unbelievable. It's like so mind-numbingly uninspired, you know. And then I think to myself, what's going on in these people's musical souls? I mean, what are they like on drugs or whatever?
Yes.
Or
EDM.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they do. Like they get in a rave and they're all dancing and if you've
They are on
got
drugs.
if you get enough drugs in you could play anything at them, you know, just this and this is like so great, you know. But like hello, wake up, you know. And that's the problem. The kids don't get a chance to wake up because they're on their iPhones all day, like doing the Snapchat chat thing, and the social media basically are like a massive drug for the kids. They're all hooked into it, and the result is that it's almost impossible for them to find themselves because there's never a quiet moment where they can reflect. You know, when there's silence, suddenly everybody goes, oh, why is it silent? Now let's turn on the music, you know, like have some drug, you know, to cloud it all so we cannot think for ourselves. Please don't start thinking when it's silence, you know, you might end freaking out, you know. And it's a real problem, I think. It's a real problem. And then the result is, you know, suicide rates go up. There are a lot of kids are depressed. They don't know why. Why? Because they don't find any answers. Why don't they find answers? Because they're numbed by the drug of empty music and of cell phones that kind of lure them into a feeling of connectedness when it is all like superficial and shallow and there's no real touchy feely connectedness with real people anymore, you know. So it sounds pretty cataclysmic and dystopian, and some of it is, but you never know, you know. Maybe it's just some weird phase and mankind has weathered weird storms before, you know. I'm still hopeful. You know, I think we're kind of in puberty right now.
And those silent moments in between the spaces, in between the music, when there's a moment where everything's going on, and all of a sudden it stops and it drops. That's part of the music. That silence. It is part of it. Like, you don't always need to fill a space.
Yeah, but the stuff that's coming out of my daughter's bedroom is not like that sometimes. It's just something. But I have to say, she also does listen to other stuff. So, but I fear she's the exception.
Well, we're still dealing with like the difference of generations, like your parents, their parents. The music.
Yeah, my music didn't come
different.
from my parents. I found it like myself. But sure, the generations do. It does make a big difference. But all I'm saying is, what I'm missing now is inspiration, imagination, and melody. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's the whole
That's
enchilada.
pretty much, yes.
That's the whole.
I'm so
that's
sorry.
the whole michelada.
No, I mean, except for the bread, the dough is there. The beat is there. But like the filling ain't that good. It's more like constant McDonald's. It's like hello. Yeah, it can make you sick pretty fast. Never mind.
Well, thank you so much, Uli, for
always
your time.
another day. You're
It's
welcome.
really so amazing to have the opportunity to speak with you, and a pleasure, and really great to
My
talk about
pleasure.
these things. And everybody, check out Uli Jon Roth tour coming through the United States. We're here in California, going down south, going back up north, going
Canada,
east and west,
yeah,
west and east.
Texas, everywhere.
It's a great show.
Looking forward to it.
Come and see Uli and his great band.
Thank you.